Hey babes, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Brandy. I am the host of the Be Real Babe show, and today you guys, it is time to keep up with Canada. If you're watching this live, it is Monday, December 29th. The last episode before the new year. Holy shit, I cannot believe we're at the end of 2025. What an insane year. It almost caps off a whole year of me keeping up with Canada on YouTube on Monday. So that's been amazing. Let's see what happens next season with this segment. But today, you guys, I have three different stories. Well, two topics, three different stories. The final story is about a very tragic situation that came out of Edmonton, Alberta recently that, I've been talking about the healthcare system for a long time and the issues here within Canada. So I thought I'd share this story because I think it's super important. I want to put prayers out to the family. We're going to talk about some of the comments in the comment section. And then I've got another topic that I want to talk about. Now, there is a huge problem with animal control here in Canada and people overbreeding dogs, abusing dogs, leaving them out. And right now it is very, very cold. It's about to get even colder here in Canada in the next week or so. And I thought it was really important to talk about these stories because they keep coming up more and more where I'm seeing animal abuse stories, and it makes me sick to my stomach. And I don't think people really understand how much this is happening, and we should also share resources of where we can go and help. So none of these stories today are fun, but they are conversations that we need to have, and us as Canadians should then decide how we need to go forward and support one another through these very tragic situations. I know, not the funnest, but again, we need to talk about this stuff, and I think it's better coming from me than the shitty news reports that are out there that, don't really care about people and really just care about clickbait. But I actually want to have conversations with you guys on how we make things better and come together to try and move forward instead of this back and forth pointing fingers. How do we get to the core part of the problem and fix it together? So if you're interested in listening to those topics, stick around and we'll jump right in. Okay, babes, as mentioned, three different stories, two different topics, but we're going to start, unfortunately, with the animal abuse. So I guess trigger warning, I would like to say, and obviously I might have to bleep out some of these words, but these topics need to be talked about because, in my opinion, as humans, we have the responsibility of caring for animals, and we need to hold other humans accountable when they are not doing so. And sometimes shit happens, and I can understand that, and I do believe that we need to look at each individual case individually and, get people involved to understand their side of the story. But unfortunately, with animals, people can just be shit. And I think we need to talk about this and how do we come together. And I also want to share some other, in the description, I'm going to share some places local to BC and Alberta that you can help go if you want to help animal rescues. And this isn't really necessarily a conversation about the SPCA or anything like that. It's strictly about the abuse of animals. And although I know a lot of people have frustrations with different organizations around animal rescue, at the end of the day, they are still helping. And I think if we don't like something, we need to get involved and understand more. So let's get to the first story that I found here that actually pulled this animal abuse situation into my forefront. Now, I would be saying I have been following Reed Sam, and he's also going to be one of the people I link below that is helping in Alberta with dogs and rescues all over the place. So I'll link him because he is doing a lot of charity work there as well. So you can help there for Alberta. But I came across this and then kind of fell down a rabbit hole of all the different abuse allegations that just happened alone here in BC. So first one, and this is a little outdated, but it was posted December 4th, 2025. Investigation launched after dog tied to tree left for dead in the Okanagan. The BC SPCA in the South Okanagan has launched an animal cruelty investigation after a deceased dog was found tied to a tree near Vasu Lake. This was an act by a person. Matt Affleck with the BC SPCA said, "Somebody did this to this dog. Somebody just tied it up and left it for dead." Affleck said the dog appeared to be a German Shepherd type breed. Its body was discovered 3 kilometers up McIntyre Creek Road south of Okanagan Falls in a remote forest area on the east side of the lake by 2 hikers last month. Could you imagine? I feel for hikers, man. Like, I understand that I like hiking from time to time, not a hardcore hiker, but it always seems like the hikers are finding this, right? So it just makes me a little bit sad, and also just, have thoughts in your mind that you could, unfortunately, being a hiker and going into remote areas, you could stumble across something like this. So if you are someone that hikes in your area, it might be a good idea to keep some of these numbers, to go search some of these numbers to find out who you would call in these cases. Because I imagine, as most humans do, would want to help in that situation. And I always get flustered. I'm like, what the fuck? So, getting those numbers are probably helpful if for your area, so that if you do come across something like this, you know who to call. To that extent, to allow an animal to suffer for whatever reason, they didn't want the dog, Affleck said. What the dog went through, the terror, the fear, being tied up in the bush, has got to be horrifying for a dog. They can't eat, they can't drink, they don't know what's happening, they can't escape. Ugh. And that's what just gets it. Like, I understand humans go through shit, right? And I'm not going to shame people entirely, but at the same time, like, I know things can happen and I know we always can't predict it, but if you're really not in a position to get an animal and you're doing it for, I'm not trying to be rude, selfish reasons, like, maybe don't, right? Like, unless you're willing to lose everything to help support an animal. I know it's hard. I know a lot of people, especially hoarders, their hearts are in the right places and they're just really trying to help animals. But sometimes it gets, and this, I don't know if this was the situation, but there is a lot of animal hoarders. I know a lot of the times some of these situations happen because you have a true heart and you get yourself in a shitty position. But that's why there's rescues and people like try to adopt out, try and do all of those things, tying it out in the woods. I mean, that's not ideal. I know the rescues are overflowing, but I'm sure most people would agree that they'd rather overflowing dogs at a rescue than just being left out with no chance of survival. Affleck said the dog's death was senseless and needless, and there are many options rather than leaving the animal to die. Exactly. We're here to help all the animals, he said. Sometimes things don't work out when you get a pet. We're not judging people. We're not holding anything against you. Come in, call us. We'll send somebody out to pick up your animal. Affleck said that they do have a few leads in the case, but are asking if anyone knows anything to contact them at 250-493-0136. If someone is found guilty, they could face up to a $75,000 fine and or 2 years in prison. And I mean, that's great to hear, but unfortunately, doesn't seem like criminals are really being held accountable for their shit here in Canada. So that's nice that he might get 2 years, but I don't know who that this person might get 2 years if they're found. But sometimes I struggle because it's discouraging because I don't feel like our law systems hold people. Like, we've got murderers let out the next day. You know what I'm saying? So but either way, see something, call something. I know, again, people have issues with SPCA, but at least start there in your local area to help, where you could go find local rescues. If you can donate money, a lot of the times they have vet bills that are through the roof because they're just getting an influx from people being irresponsible. Now, again, like they said, sometimes you get yourself in a situation, we have all been there, and it is very hard to give up a pet, I'm sure, especially one that you love so much, if you're just not in the right space and you know that that's better for them. I understand that. But some of these people are just fucking pieces of shit. I know a lot of people that do not see cats or animals as anything other than just like rats. And even rats, like, you feel terrible, right? Like, there's no need for animal cruelty and abuse. There's plenty of people in the world that are looking for animals every single day. New families are looking for new animals, or someone loses one pet and they're looking for the replacement, or some people are just out there willing to help. I know I fostered many cats before. Unfortunately, with 3 elder cats here, it's a little hard to foster. If we had a bigger home, that is something that I absolutely would do. But in the sense that it's like sharing stories, like, what are ways that you can help fight animal abuse and cruelty? And that could be by donating, that could be by volunteering at the shelters, that could be by rescuing, that could be by fostering for a bit, that could be just showing up, sending money, spreading awareness. There's a bunch of different ways, calling it out when you see it, things like that. Spreading awareness is free and easy. So let's try and do better for our animals. I know this is a problem across the world. This isn't just local to BC or Kelowna or Canada by that means, but we're Canadians and that's what we should care about. I digress. I know it's hard. A lot of people don't want to care about Canada, but we should be caring. We should be caring about what's happening in our backyards. And this is happening across every single province. It is getting cold. It's getting winter. So if you can in any way help donate, like I said, I'll leave a couple rescues in the comment sections that are on Western Canada. That's just my area. Apologies, guys. Please feel free to leave any other comments or please feel free to tag or leave any other rescues in your area that you think should have support. I think that's great. The more we can spread awareness and resources, the better. So let's go into the second animal abuse, again, sorry guys, situation. But again, we need to talk about this stuff because animals can't speak for themselves, right? And what are some ways? This article was really good because it's directly from the BC SPCA, talking about a breeder. And I've seen a lot lately about bad things happening with breeders. And this article actually gives some red flags for us to look out for. And in this situation, someone is charged. Now, again, is the legal system going to help us out here and really penalize these people? Or are we just getting an article about it? They have a fine to pay, they're hated a little bit, they move somewhere else, it doesn't matter. But either way, this is from December 4th, 2025. So Clearwater breeder convicted of animal cruelty charges. On November 21st, Bonnie Milligan, a breeder based in Clearwater, pled guilty to animal cruelty charges contrary to Section 9.12 of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, PCA, for causing or permitting an animal to be in distress. Early last year, the BC SPCA investigated complaints of animal cruelty after an individual purchased a dog in concerning conditions from Milligan in a parking lot in Kamloops. During the investigation, it was discovered that Milligan had 59 dogs on her property. Many of the dogs were found to be in distress, suffering from medical concerns, living in unsanitary conditions, and without adequate access to shelter or water. They demonstrated high levels of fearfulness due to being severely under-socialized. I'm going to leave up some of these pictures here. Absolutely horrible. My heart breaks for this stuff. And again, I know a lot of people have issues with some SPCAs out there, but again, they are at least doing this stuff. They are trying to make things better in my mind. Obviously, everyone can ever improve. And if you know some legit bad stuff, but nothing I see is ever bad, I just always see positive, but that could be my algorithm. That could be just what I'm seeing. So let me know if you know anything else, but I don't get the hate personally, but either way, the BC SPCA executed a search warrant on Milligan's property, resulting in the surrender of 31 dogs and recommended animal cruelty charges to the Crown Council. The court then imposed bail terms that limited Milligan to having custody or control of a maximum of 15 dogs for non-commercial purposes. I think she shouldn't just none. Sorry, but I digress. Following her guilty plea, Milligan received 12 months probation, including a curfew for a period of 6 months. Milligan may not own, have custody, or control of, or reside in the same premises as more than 15 dogs for companion purposes. All dogs must be seen by a veterinarian during the probation period, and evidence of this must be submitted to Milligan's probation officer. To be compliant with these conditions, Milligan must allow inspections by BC SPCA or peace officers for a period of 5 years. Hold on. I'm not trying to be rude. I understand wanting dogs for your own purposes, and I wonder if so she had, what did they say, 50 dogs. They confiscated 31. So they're obviously watching over the rest of the dogs for companion purposes. Who needs 15 dogs for companions? I'm not saying I can't imagine. Again, maybe this person was definitely a good person and just got out of control and didn't mean this animal cruelty. I completely understand. There could be mental health in play, bunch of different things. I get that. 15 though? 15 after someone has done something like this? I don't know. That seems to be a lot. Maybe 5? Just my take. I'm a cat mom. I have 3. That's a lot. I couldn't imagine 15 cats. And cats are way smaller and a little bit easier, I feel than dogs in some senses. But anyways, I digress. Milligan, and then for 5 years. So what, in 5 years again, she can go back up to 51 dogs? Anyways, Milligan also should not own, have custody, or control, or reside in the same premise of any dog that is associated with a commercial purpose or regulated activity, included but not limited to breeding, care, keeping, training, use, transportation, disposition, or selling for a period of 10 years. Sorry, permanent ban. I don't know. There's so many things people can do in the world. If you've displayed this behavior, even if it was by accident, I don't know that 10 years would make anything better. Anyways, that's just my personal opinion. Hated. That's fine. The BC SPCA urges individuals looking to add a furry member to their family to thoroughly research the breeder they're considering. When certain breeds or mixed breeds of dogs gain popularity, it can lead to a surge in breeding activity, but not every breeder cares for their animals with the same level of responsibility. Very valid. Very important to research your breeder. The BC SPCA recommends these 4 tips to ensure you accidentally don't support irresponsible breeding. Furthermore, I would say, and I don't mean to be that person that's adopt, don't shop. I understand sometimes there's certain things, absolutely, but if you are caring for an animal and you're not too particular, I'd say try a rescue. I know sometimes they're not always the easiest, but they're always overran. They're always loving animals. I know when you go to rescue dogs, sometimes it's really up into the air of how they could be and all that. I understand that. But if possible, I think it's always great to do that because, when you supply and demand, right? So the more people are going to breeders for specific animals, for specific reasons, I totally get it. Maybe there's a certain dog you've always wanted, understandable. But if you're a person that gets a bunch of animals, do considering rescue, because I think nothing is sadder than an animal losing a family, whether that's on purpose, by illness, whatever. And so I think rescued animals kind of love in a different way, even if it's not always easy. And yes, we have 3 different rescued animals in our home. 1, do not purchase Okay, so the SPCA, so going back, so the SPCA recommends these 4 tips. Do not purchase a pet from anyone who asks to meet you in a shopping center, parking lot, or somewhere other than their breeding facility. Very good point. You'd want to go to the facility, see how things done, how the animals were bred. Is this like a black market kind of situation, you know? So going to their facility will probably help not only see the environment, but just ensuring that they're the right people. A responsible breeder should be happy and willing to show you their facility, introduce you to the puppy's family. The mom should be on site, and there shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 breeds or litters present. Good point. If someone really cares, they probably want to have less, want to be there for them. If you run yourself into a puppy mill, take the dog, run, and call whoever you need to call, police, authorities, anybody in your area. A responsible breeder will ask you a lot of questions about your lifestyle and expectations. They'll be willing to answer questions about socialization, health, genetics, living conditions. So be sure to ask them these types of questions. I think again that's super important, and they should be wanting to know about you too. I think don't get offended if breeders are asking about your life, your lifestyle, things that you do, how you plan on taking care of their animal, because to me that's a good breeder, because they want to make sure that the animal's going to a good place. They're not just there for the money. They're not just there for whatever fucking reason. They're there because they care the animal, and they want to make sure that the next person is going to be great. Obviously, not necessarily shade on breeders if they do all their back check and ends up being a bad person, obviously, but it's great that both sides should be very inquisitive when going through this. All animals, including the adopted animals and their mom, should be visibly healthy, social, and well cared for. Absolutely, right? So that makes total sense that you want to make sure that everyone else is around, right? Like, do they just like clean up that puppy and make that puppy look good just to sell? Again, if they're doing it at a shopping center, like I think for yourself too, if you're wanting to commit to this level, you should want to go see where they come from. And if you're not willing to go to that level of commitment to see where they come from, ask questions of the breeders, even ask if there's anybody else you could talk to that has adopted from these individuals so that you can see what happens going forward, right? Like I know some people think animals are just next to nothing, but that's not how I feel in my home. And I think if you're going to be taking responsibility of another life, you should do the best that you can. Sometimes we don't know and we learn as we go, but as long as you're being open and wanting to learn more, I think that's all that matters, and doing the best for your animals. So reminder, guys, I know it's that time of year where people get super hyped about buying animals for Christmas and all that. I totally don't think that that's a bad thing, but understanding that animals take a long time. Just remember that animals take a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy. It can be a lot of money, and just prepare yourself for that. Go in knowing those things, because that animal deserves to be loved and cared for in its entirety. Furthermore, also look into things, unless you're just getting from the SPCA, you can only do what you can do. Understandable. But if you are going into breeders, make sure you're checking these things so you don't have further problems down the road. And also keep in mind that it is very fucking cold outside. So make sure, especially if you're in northern Canada, looking inside your cars, making sure there's no animals, cats hiding under there. I know right now, as I'm recording this, it's -10 this morning in Kelowna, which is very cold. It was dropping down to -40, 50 in Alberta, so it's very, very cold. If you can, try to put out some food and water for stray animals or shelter, that's amazing. If not, it's all good. I'm also, like I said, going to leave some charities in the link so you can go help in some rescues if you feel so compelled to help, and let's help figure out what we need to do to stop the animal cruelty, and at the very least spreading information, sharing money, and donating to the places that are already there helping, and the veterinarians that are helping do this nonstop. That is a great place to start. And where can we take our advocacy from here? Okay, so let's get on to the final and obviously extremely tragic story that I'm going to bring here. And we're just, there's a lot of arguments in the comment sections, and going into the next year, I think that might be something that I want to do for these topics, is trying to get an idea of what Canadians are feeling now, being the way that social media is built. Obviously, I'm only going to see certain algorithms. I'm only going to see certain comments. So unfortunately, it's going to be a little biased to me. So that's why I might take a couple weeks here, a month, to build my algorithm to try and be as balanced as possible, to seek out other opposing opinions and stuff like that on any topic, whether it's something I agree with or disagree with, and see if I can build my algorithm to, it is pretty balanced, but to bring even more balanced understanding of what Canadians are thinking. But this one's absolutely tragic. And again, I'm so sorry that I have to bring up this stuff, but I don't think a lot of Canadians are understanding how bad our healthcare system is until it hits them. And I think that there needs to be more productive conversations about what we can do instead of pointing the fingers at everyone in the comment section. I don't know what the answer is, but just blaming one entire thing for a system that was already collapsing over the last decades, and now everything else that has happened on top of it, I think it's a perfect storm. But unfortunately, people are just seeing black and white when there's a lot of gray matter and a lot of truths that can exist at the same time. So Anyways, let's get onto this article. That's just my opinion. Edmonton father dies in hospital ER waiting to see a doctor. So this was posted on December 24th on Global News. A family is grieving after a 44-year-old father of 3 died in an Edmonton hospital emergency room waiting area. On Monday, December 22nd, Prashant Srikumar began experiencing severe chest pains while at work. I'm so sorry. I'm going to butcher names. This is just who I am as a person. Please forgive me. A client drove him to the Grey Nuns Hospital in southeast Edmonton, where Srikumar was checked in at a triage, then took a seat in the waiting room. His father, Kumar Srikumar, soon arrived. He told me, "Papa, I cannot bear the pain," he said. Kumar said his son told him and hospital staff that the pain was a 15 out of 10. They did an ECG on him and checked his heart function, but the family said Prashant was told there was nothing of significance and to keep waiting. Staff also offered Prashant some Tylenol for his pain. He waited and waited some more. Kumar said as time passed, nurses would check Prashant's blood pressure. It went up, 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 and up. To me, it was through the roof. More than 8 hours went by before Prashant was called into the treatment area. After sitting maybe 10 seconds, he looked at me, he got up and put his hands on his chest and just crashed, Kumar said. Nurses called for help, but it was too late. Prashant died of an apparent cardiac arrest. Prashant leaves behind his wife and 3 children, ages 3, 10, and 14. The family loved to travel together and said Prashant was a goofball with his kids. He was for his family, for his kids. He was so nice. Anybody who talked to him said we don't know a better than him, Kumar said. Family and friends want answers over how could a man with severe chest pain fall through the cracks in such a shocking way. Family friend Verinder Bular, who would use Prashant's accounting services, said this is a huge loss for the community. He is devastated at what happened. We expect better from the hospital and healthcare system, he said. The Grey Nuns Hospital is run by Covenant Health. The organization told Global News in an email that it wouldn't comment on the specifics surrounding patient care because of privacy and did say the case is before the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. We offer our sympathy to the patient's family and friends. There is nothing more important than safety and care of our patients and staff, said the statement. The statement said, as family try to remember Prashant for all of the good he brought to them, they said they will always be haunted by how he died in pain in a hospital without ever seeing a doctor. They took my baby for nothing, Kumar said. Okay, so many things to unwrap here. First and foremost, I'm so sorry for the wife, kids, family, friends, anybody that is at a complete loss of this man. To me, this is absolute negligence. I don't understand. As far as I was under the impression, and again, I know nothing. I don't go to hospitals, thank God. I'm not versed in it. I just unfortunately read a lot of horror stories. And good stories. There's some good stories, but we need to talk about the bad ones like this because this is a huge oversight in my opinion. I feel like chest pain is just something you do not fuck around and find out with. Like, I'm not sure why this man wasn't taken serious. There's a huge fight in the comment sections about why this is happening. And just my personal uneducated, unknowledgeable stoner opinion here is that there's multiple truths that are existing at the same time. I am 39 years old. I do not remember a time in my life where I've ever not heard that the healthcare system is strained. That is just something that has been nonstop accepted here in Canada since I was a child. So that's, I mean, obviously I don't have cognizance of the first like 5-6 years, but I do always recall here that we felt very blessed that we had a free healthcare system, but because it's free, which it's not because we pay taxes, but whatever, that's what you're grown to believe, is that it's there when you need it. And maybe at one point it was, but I've always heard healthcare strained. I've always heard nurses being overworked, overrun, doctors underpaid, undercared, people that just don't care, negligence. Like, I'm not saying this is about the industry itself. It's across the board. But if we just keep chalking it up and like we need to spend more money to, we need to throw more money and we need to do this, we need to do that, but don't never do anything. Continue make things harder. Continue making questionable decisions like pushing half of healthcare out because they chose not to get something that now has a black box warning on it. I mean, in my opinion, we're not looking at the right things. We're always just saying throwing money at it, but throwing money at it's doing nothing. It's the way the systems are built. It's the way this provincial is set up with the federal, and everyone blames the federal and the provincial, and it goes back and forth. And again, I think a lot can exist at the same time. We could be a mess federally as well as provincially here. And municipalities, what are they doing? Where is their involvement, right? Are we leaving too much up to the provinces and Ottawa to do stuff for local situations and where money's going and stuff like that? I don't know. I just think that there's multiple things going on at the same time. Now you've got years and decades of exhaustion in doctors and nurses and staff across the board. People who can't afford to live, work super hard, so they want to be paid more. So that goes up. Like, it's just nonstop. And at the same time, I understand where people are. I'm not saying, I am not, just so that we are clear, saying that this is immigrants' fault. Majority of us in Canada are immigrants down the line. Okay, I'm not saying that. But when we open our borders, when there is actual fraud going on with the immigration, and our infrastructure cannot keep up to the mass amount of people that are coming into this country and the mass amount of issues everyone is having, I mean, what do you expect, right? So is it fair to say if it's one or the other? I think it's all. And I think all truths can exist at the same time. And I think that's what makes this so chaotic, and what makes it so hard is because there's almost a truth in a little bit in what everyone's saying, right? I'm not saying the extreme comments and like the racist and horrible comments like that. Like, get the fuck out of here. Most Canadians are balanced in reality, right? Where we understand that we are born and raised with immigrants around us. We want them. We're happy with that. We can also see that there are people that are fraudulently coming into this country. You can look it up. There's people that are getting false letters. But at the same time, I understand because they do bring a lot to the country. They do bring a lot of money. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying two truths can exist at the same time, right? We can have bunch of really good healthcare workers that are burnt out and leaving. At the same time, we can have really shitty ones that are just staying there for money and just don't actually give a fuck and just want to get a paycheck and are checked out. There could be people in the middle, right? This black and white thinking has gotten us where we're just arguing each other about the black and white. We're not discussing the gray. We're not coming together in the middle ground and saying, okay, I can't please you here, this is extreme, but where can we come into the middle? Can we say absolutely keep our borders open with due process when it makes sense, when we can make things match in the country? We're very, very sick. A lot of people are very, very sick. So maybe this didn't seem like such of a big problem 5-10 years ago, but now with a bunch of people getting sick and filling the hospitals with stuff, especially after taking that black box warning thing, can a lot of the truths exist at the same time, where there's a lot of people that got let go and still can't work because they chose not to take that? Maybe we get them back because they were good workers. What was wrong with them? Nothing. So anyways, I was going to read the comment section. I think I'm going to leave it for now because there's a lot of back and forth, but that pretty much wrapped it up, where some people are blaming the systems that have always been here. Some people are blaming federal government. Some people are blaming provincial. Some people are blaming local. Some people are blaming the systems, the healthcare, the doctors, the nurses, the people that are abusing it, the people that are not taking care of themselves. I think the best thing to start is with personal responsibility. Where are you personally fucking up? Where do you need to get better in your life? Where can you improve your health so that you can then remove yourself as best as you can from these systems? Some people can't, and I understand that. Where are you adding to the conversation in the comment sections? Or are you just being fucking negative and adding to the fuel of divide? Are you being curious? Are you just so locked in the things that you've heard and read, whether you're mainstream media, whether you're conspiracy theorists, whether you go to independent journalists? I think humility is the only way forward. Let's get rid of the ego, open up conversations that maybe things aren't as we always know, right? As we always think, as we've learned. We could be in echo chambers, we could be manipulated, we could be being gaslit, we can have been. There's so many different reasons why people have different opinions and they know things differently by experience, by their lenses, by their knowledge. Why come back and argue people and be mean to each other instead of just being open and have conversations and take it or leave it? Why is the ego so intense on being right about everything? That's where it's got us. People are so concerned about being right versus doing what's best, versus coming together as community and working together to collaborate. That's what I'm going to go for 2026. That's what I'm looking forward to. I have one more month left here, maybe about 4 weeks left. I'm going to take a break for about 6 weeks where the podcast is going to be uploaded to the YouTube channel. So you'll have content for the time that I'm off. And then I'm really going to reframe of what does this show look like and where can I come from? And I really think getting topics and diving into the comment section and finding balanced conversations so we can see what Canadians are thinking about these topics, not my personal bias, not anything. What are Canadians thinking and how can we come together and blend some of these where we all actually probably have more common goals than we realize? Where can we blend that a little bit better to come together? But that's just my personal opinion. And guys, I hope that you like this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening and for all of 2025. There'll be one more episode on Wednesday of Internet Insanity before we finish the year. And then I'm going to come back, like I said, for about one more month of 2026, take my break. And then I'm going to revamp this whole entire process, YouTube channel, how this looks, all of that. I just kind of put it together in this last year and just learning all that I can. I'm going to take a break and come back even better, stronger, But appreciate you guys so much. I hope that you had an amazing Christmas week. If you enjoy that, if you celebrate that, if not, I hope you just enjoy the time at this end of the year in the quiet, the snow, and the cold. Thank you so much for listening again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next episode and in the next year for Keeping Up in Canada. Okay, bye guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, bye.